I'm playing with fire here, I know, but still. Each Pokemon generation has something unique about it that you can love, and each one has something you might just hate. Just remember, these are my picks, based on my opinions. I'm diving pretty deep here too. I won't just take a look at the main series games. No, I'll also count spin-off games towards how much I like any given generation. The ranking will be mostly based on how much I like things in a generation, more so than things I might not have liked as much. I like to try to stay a little bit more positive. Also, Generation 8 is not on this list, because while it looks like there's some really nice stuff coming up for that, we're still nowhere near finished with that generation yet. Number 5. Generation 7. This one might be one of the more bare bones generations in recent history. We have Sun and Moon and their Ultra counterparts, but for all intents and purposes, we can discount the original Sun and Moon since, even for a re-released version, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are just too damn close to the original versions, and they don't really add that much. Seeing Team Rainbow Rocket was fun though. Not really that difficult by any means, but as a lifelong Pokemon fan, getting to battle all these bad guys that you faced throughout the years was really a nice nostalgia trip. What impresses me more about this generation is that Game Freak actually took the risk to change the standard 8 gym formula and have the Island Trials instead. Still followed by the Elite Four, which I felt was a little forced, but within the story of this game they actually gave a pretty decent reason to include them, since it's actually based on the Elite Four you face in every other region. And while Gen 8 isn't on the list, as I mentioned before, I have to give them credit for actually ditching the Elite Four and having something more fun and unique to that specific region. This is also the generation that includes Pokemon Let's Go, which, while really just a cash-in for the success of Pokemon Go, is also a great reimagining of the Kanto region in a somewhat new gameplay style and art style. Looking at you there, Sword and Shield. Altogether, while this generation doesn't have a lot to offer, what it has to offer might not be amazing, but it's very unique and experimental, something which I generally like to see in a long-running series like this. Number 4. Generation 6. First of all, disclaimer. Generation 3 was where I really started getting into Pokemon, so seeing the Hoenn region again in 3D graphics was a joy for me. And places like Fortress City feel like they've been taken right out of my imagination into the game. Even if the game has some frame rate issues. And while people like to complain about X and Y, for good reasons in some cases, I also like to say that I enjoy myself within those games. Kalos might be one of my favourite regions just to go through and explore. It's got so many different places and every new route feels unique and memorable. Mega Evolution is also one of my favourite mechanics to be ever introduced in Pokemon. Honestly, it's on par with Hell items in Gen 3 if you ask me, and the fact that they were removed still bothers me. I'm not saying Dynamaxing isn't neat, and it certainly has its own balancing meta going for it, but I feel like it's less balanced and just flat out less interesting than Mega Evolution was. It's also pretty light on spin-off games. We got Super Mystery Dungeon, which I have to admit, I've never actually tried that after dropping out of Gates of Infinity, because that game was just plain boring. Altogether, not a great generation, and a large part of my love is based on the nostalgia for Hoenn, and the fact that this is the first generation that came out after I started doing YouTube. Number 3. Generation 3. Talking about Hoenn, this is where my journey into the Pokemon world really got started. I got a copy of Pokemon Emerald after playing my friend's copy of Pokemon Ruby for a little bit, and I was sold. Looking at the mechanics, they don't hold up. Not having the physical special split for attacking moves really holds these games back from aging very well. The move pools in these games are also highly limited, especially if you stick to only level up moves. On the other hand, it makes the Kanto region reasonably playable. Because let's be honest here, Gen 1 was barely even a game with how broken it was. More importantly, however, this is where the Mystery Dungeon games got started, with Red Rescue Team for the GBA and Blue Rescue Team, the same game but with a map on the top screen for the DS. These, to this day, are some amazing games, and while I haven't played the DX version for the Switch yet, it seems like that might be the definitive way to play these old games. We'll talk a little bit more about Mystery Dungeon later on though. Because something else this generation did is literally invent a new genre of games with Pokémon Ranger. And while at first glance they're a little bit rough in some places, you have to give them credit for taking a DS touchscreen gimmick, which something Nintendo was pretty ahead of its time with, by the way, and making a full game out of something that takes advantage of that. You could argue that this generation also laid the groundwork for what would later become Pokémon X and Y and onwards, because the first real 3D Pokémon games were Pokémon Colosseum and Gale of Darkness. Instead of just a battle simulator like we got in Pokémon Stadium, we got a full Pokémon 3D adventure, making people all over the world wait for the day the main series would evolve into the third dimension too. Number 2. Generation 5. While this generation didn't have much to offer in the way of spin-off games, it did provide us with some of my favourite main series games of all time, Pokémon Black and White. And then we also got some actual sequels for the first and last time. I personally like the first Black and White just a little bit more, but both games are some of my favourite games of all time, and frankly, the fact that these games run on Nintendo DS is pretty damn magical to me, with the animated battle sprites and more dynamic camera. Then, like I mentioned before, this generation is relatively light on spin-off games. Ones that I like, anyway. But we do have Pokémon Conquest, a game that I both love and have never actually completed somehow. I'm not sure why exactly, because I love the idea of this game, and while the genre usually ends up producing very difficult games, with it being toned down for the Pokémon fanbase and introducing mechanics like super effective moves and evolution, like a Pokémon game, this actually ends up being something rather unique and entertaining. This generation doesn't have a lot of highlights, but the ones it has are really good. Number 1. Generation 4. You knew this was coming. We have the introduction of the physical special split, making a bunch of useless Pokémon suddenly become somewhat useful. This wouldn't take full effect until Gen 5 added a bunch of moves for all Pokémon, but this really laid the groundwork for modern Pokémon battle mechanics, and I would say that's generally the start of what I consider to be modern Pokémon. You can divide Pokémon in roughly 3 eras, in my opinion. The classics being Generation 1, 2 and 3, the modern games being Generation 4 and 5, which stick very close to those original games but with some minor improvements. Then the 3D era, where not only the graphical style of the game got a massive update, but more experimental features were introduced and then dropped. Think Mega Evolutions, Z-moves, and more recently, Dynamaxing. I'm not saying that any of these eras are necessarily better than any other, but the modern era, that being Generation 4 and 5, are certainly my favourites. This generation also allows us to play Gen 2 remakes, which is great because I love Gold, Silver and Crystals, but those games, fun as they are, just have become a little dated, and having a more modern version to play to fix some of those issues is just a really nice bonus. Also, Pokémon following you in the overworld, why won't you bring this back, Game Freak? Does Sword and Shield have that? I don't know, I haven't played Sword and Shield. But really, the reason Gen 4 tops this list by a pretty wide margin is the spin-offs in this generation. We get a successor to both Pokémon Mystery Dungeon and Pokémon Rangers. Starting with Mystery Dungeon, it's more or less a just more fleshed out version of the original game, fixing some of the less popular mechanics like friend zones, even though I like that, giving some more depth to the story and characters, but ultimately, the story is pretty similar, just executed way better. Especially in Explorers of Sky, where you get to play some side stories featuring characters from the game. They really managed to take you on an emotional ride with those ones. Then there is Pokémon Rangers, Shadows of Almia. This game does much of the same for its series as Mystery Dungeon. The story this time around is much different, it doesn't take itself as seriously. The main improvements in this game are mechanical. Where you needed to capture a Pokémon in one continuous movement without taking your stylus off the screen in the original, now your target has a sort of health bar. This allows you to stop the action for a moment to avoid an attack without losing all capturing progress, and makes for a way more fun and rewarding gameplay experience, especially with the newly added bosses, where you can really feel a lot of tension and back and forth now that all of this is possible. Your partner Pokemon also no longer is just a Plusle or Minun. You get to choose near the start of the game, and there are many others to find with a couple of side quests, as well as the optional super bosses like Regigigas. I'm not saying the original Ranger was a bad game, or even that it didn't have all of these things at all, just that with some changes and additions to Shadows of Olmia, it was changed from a weird DS touchscreen tech demo into a legitimately fun game. Also, Pokemon Platinum has the Distortion world, and I love that, so I'll be a little upset if the Gen 4 remakes don't include that at all. Are you mad yet? I just told you my opinions. This is the internet. I'm sure you're mad. Please tell me why you're mad in the comment section. Let me know what your top 5 looks like. There isn't a right answer here. There is a wrong answer though. Don't dare put Gen 1 as the best. Just don't. You're all gonna do that now, aren't you?